now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Okay, so let's actually get started, and people, they'll join as the meeting goes on. So welcome everyone to another BAP meeting. Today we have Anthony from Bank of America coming to speak with us today. So thank you, Anthony, and you could take it from here.
Yeah, and hold on, there's okay there. So do you have anyone on the line? Because I just see an empty conference room. Is there anyone on the line on your end?
Yeah, there's people online, and then people. So I got a couple emails, people saying that they're running late, etc.
Oh, yeah. All right, perfect. Yeah, so I'll kind of kick off. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk and chat with everyone. So I'll give a little bit of background about myself. So I'm currently at Bank of America. I'm an SVP in the Municipal Banking and Markets Division. Our line of business is essentially the government banking and markets group. So our clients are the municipalities, and we provide them treasury services. So anything that you or I would have with Bank of America, our governments need also. So think deposits, think any kind of traditional banking services. So making payments, receiving payments, things like that, that's coming through our team. So I've been in the role about 3 years. And certainly enjoying it, having a lot of fun. It's really great to be part of the municipal business. It's definitely an enjoyable experience. Prior to this, I started at Bank of America for about 5 years in the CFO group. So they're doing a little bit more of closing the books and records, calculating the P&L, posting balance sheet entries. Definitely enjoyed that. Wish I would have paid a little bit more attention in accounting class with Professor Collier, and all the other great teachers. But so that was a great learning experience, and I was in the CFO group supporting the equities business as well as the municipal banking markets business. So 2 different jobs, about 2 years apiece. I left to go to Mizuho, which is one of our Japanese banks, doing similar type work, closing the books for month end, P&L reconciliations, balance sheet entries. I was there for about 2 years, and like I said, now back at the bank for roughly 3 years. So that was kind of my general path over the last 8 or 9 years. I'll kind of stop if there's any questions or anything you have any questions, or I could talk more about my FDU experience, but I'll kind of stop and see if there's any questions on the line.
I actually had a question. So because I noticed that you did work at obviously Bank of America. Yeah, because I was wondering, because I work at TD right now, but in the retail side, and so you do work in, like, it's technically corporate, right? Like
Yeah, so it's funny, right? So our team kind of sits somewhat in the middle of 2 of them, right? So we are the corporate bank, but a lot of the services that we use and a lot of the individuals on our team are dealing with a lot of the stuff you'd see in the branch, right? So I mean, for you in the branch, I'm sure you know KYC, know your customer. If anyone on the line doesn't know that, or really the big thing right now for the banks is anti-money laundering. So being able to trace where the dollars are coming in, where they're going, knowing who your client is, things like that. So there's certainly a lot of overlap between starting in a branch on the retail side or more here on the corporate side. A lot of the services, they're going to be similar. A lot of the clients are going to be similar. It's really just the client base, right? Where they are in the financial system, I think will really be a variance of that.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you. Does anybody else have questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, you continue.
All right. So I think a big part of whenever I get the chance to talk to FDU students, I always really appreciate that. But I think of what would I have wanted to know when I was sitting in the FDU seats, right? That's a big thing for me. And I think a big thing that I would have liked to have known was a couple of things. One, the timeline of internships and how that works. I didn't really know that, right? So a lot of times I was applying junior year for roles that had been filled quite literally 6 or 8 months ago. So a big thing is you want to be aware of the timelines in which the interviews for internships take place. So a lot of the interviews actually start the beginning of sophomore year, right? So you want to be applying for those internships in the beginning of sophomore year, it's a tough concept for me to think about because you're not doing that internship till summer. Really, at this point, 2 years away. But that's a lot of the timeline. So a lot of the banking and trading and sales positions, those interviews are happening sophomore year. And then once those positions kind of get filled, then the rest part of sophomore year and into junior year is when a lot of the other internship interviews start. So you really want to just be aware of the timeline of things. I know, like for me, I didn't know what that was, and I like I said, I kind of missed the timeline on a lot of things, so that was tough. And the biggest thing that I wish I would have learned, right, was I was just blindly applying for stuff that I saw online. I would look at Bank of America or Goldman or JP and just apply. And I think the big thing that I want to stress to everyone is try and have connections on the inside and work with Mary and work with the other folks in the Career Center to see who do we have in our FDU network that is at these banks. And it couldn't just be a bank, right? It could be Apple or Tesla or whatever company you'd be interested in, because maybe the person on the inside is not going to exactly know who the hiring manager is. I mean, we have over 200,000 people, so I probably won't know, but I'll at least know the timing of things, right? So if someone reached out to me and, hey, I want to interview for this internship, maybe I could I will send an email to the hiring manager or give a timeline of it. So that's really how I would go about trying to get your internship. I'd say freshman, sophomore year, stay in Mary's office, everyone in the Career Center, and try and network with people at the larger banks or whatever company you'd be interested in, so that when there is an opening, they could at least let you know on timing. So those are some things that I wish I would have known, because I was applying blindly for positions that were mostly filled. So that's one thing that I definitely want to relate to you.
Okay. I also wanted to ask you something else. So I don't know, like, if you would know, but so like, if anybody, do you know like anybody personally that came from retail over to like just corporate in general, maybe not even just your like what you specifically do, but has moved on from like being
Yeah, I mean, definitely. A couple of the people in my group directly started at a branch, right? So they were starting as a teller and worked their way up to being a relationship banker and up onto the branch manager and kind of up that way. So there's definitely a career path there. It's a really good place to start because you actually get the foundation of how banks make money. Like there's the more exotic parts of the bank that are going to be doing derivatives and loans and all things like that, which are great. And the bank makes a lot of money off of that. But the retail side of the bank and just getting deposits are a crucial part of every bank. If you look at any of the you look at any of the talkings of CFOs or the CFOs or the CEOs, a lot of them are concerned about their deposit NIM. So that's something that you'd really be able to see in the branch, right? So there's definitely a ton of transferable skills there. So I think there's definitely a lot of transferable skills there. It's a great place to start.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Does anybody else have any questions? Twice. Okay, you can continue.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't necessarily really have anything else to kind of talk about, right? I mean, that's kind of my story, how I got here. I think one other thing that I'd kind of want to hit on is parts that have helped me excel in the role here and get promoted. Is a big thing is being a team player, right? I mean, it's asking questions, being inquisitive, trying to understand not just what you're doing, but different groups around the institution. So if you're working in a branch, that's great, but there's different people you're going to meet in risk and compliance and KYC and different people you can meet. Ask questions. Hey, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? How can I help you make your job a little bit easier? That's helped me out tremendously well. One of the hardest skills to learn is to be able to help people that don't work for you, but you need their help to get a project done. That's a tremendously valuable skill that I think that I've done a pretty good job at enhancing and really just getting to know people, right? You're talking at the water cooler and you talk about someone's kid's soccer game or things like that, and really building a relationship outside of work so that when we have an issue at work, right? I mean, then we have a little bit more of a relationship there. So that, and that's not just for work, right? That's at school, right? I mean, I always had a great relationship with my professors, so that it made it more fun to be in their class. But then when I had a question on, and I couldn't understand how to do a model in finance or do a T account in accounting, the professors always worked with me. So it's definitely a skill that I've learned here at FDU that's helped me out tremendously well everywhere. So that's definitely something I wanted to bring up.
Man, could I also ask, like, why is it that, like, just like in general, like, why is it that you chose the path? Because I know, so, just so I could refresh my mind, what was your major at FDU again?
Yeah. So I was a finance major, accounting minor, and I knew ever since I was young, I knew I wanted to work at a bank. It was always super interesting to me how billions or if not trillions of dollars can move around in a second. And it was always fascinating to me. So when I stepped foot on campus, every single thing I did was to help me get into one of the big banks. So I knew from day one I wanted to work at a big bank. And when I was at FDU, and it may still be the case, but we had a lot of elective courses that you could have taken anything you wanted. But I worked with our advisors who were really, really great. And they explained to me that instead of using those electives on things that wouldn't necessarily help me post graduation, I wanted to use those electives towards accounting. And the minor course, it was not a heavy lift. I want to say it was, I don't actually know the number, but 8 or 9 classes, maybe even less than that actually. But it was a reasonable amount of classwork that I was going to be doing the electives anyway. So I thought the accounting minor was helpful, and it was probably the best thing I did, right? Because what you'll see in finance, a lot of finance is accounting, and understanding how accounts work and debits and credits and posting entries. It maybe not the most exciting thing when you're sitting in college, junior year, sophomore year, anything like that. But when you get into the workforce, you're going to be tremendously thankful that you took those. And like me, you'll probably wish you paid more attention, because when I first started, I booked a bunch of things backwards, and I could remember sitting in my accounting classes and wishing I paid a little bit more attention. So that's really how I got into this. And I had a few internships. A couple of my internships were more on the wealth management side, which were really great to learn and understand how that side of the business worked. But I wanted to get more into the corporate or the retail side of the bank. And so I did my internship I had an internship at Merrill Lynch, which ironically I ended up coming back to the bank, and ACO company, which is one of the Goldman companies, which was a great internship in Parsippany, I want to say they were. And then I had an opportunity to interview at JP Morgan in their business banking group, learned a ton there, and then was able to join the bank post-graduation. So I knew I wanted to work at a bank, and realized, to be honest, every single thing I did from day one on campus was, how can I get an interview? What can I do to make my interview strong? So we had an opportunity. I was involved in some student government things, involved in some clubs. I played football, so that was fun. But it's really what's going to separate you. If I get 2 resumes, what's going to separate the resumes? So it's a great GPA is very valuable. I like that. But is someone working part-time at Trader Joe's or at Staples or Wegmans or whatever it is, right? I mean, it's all of anything you're doing is your story that's going to help make you stand out, right? So talk all about it. So some people might not have an opportunity to do an internship because they have to work to help pay for tuition. That's a tremendously valuable story that needs to be on your resume. It needs to come across when you're interviewing, right? So it's not everyone has the luxury or the ability to take an unpaid internship, because you need to be able to help work and pay towards tuition. So whatever your story is, talk about it, right? What's unique about you? What sets you apart from the other applicants? That has to come across in an interview.
Okay, thank you. And I have more questions. I wanted to also,
Please keep them coming.
yeah, I also wanted to ask you, so, because, well, right now, and for the most part, I have my eyes like set on like investment banking, or like even like I've been looking at both that and wealth management. Um, but like, because I know you said you just named like a handful of companies that you worked at, which are pretty big firms. Like I know you also mentioned you also networked a lot, but I feel like coming from a school like FDU, it's like I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I definitely would say it's a little difficult to get into like a big firm like that. But I know that I really want to intern like a big firm like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, or whatnot. But I just don't know, like, how could I get like my name out there to like a big firm like that that doesn't show up at the career fair, you know?
Well, you're right. I mean, so I'll be honest with you, right? I mean, this is recorded and we're here. I've always been brutally honest with everyone. It's some of the bigger banks may not be coming after you to interview for like you said, they're not coming to the career sites. That's unfortunate, but it is the truth of it. That doesn't mean that you can't get the interviews or the internship. I mean, there was a student at FDU 2 years ago got into the most prestigious program in the entire bank. What I would say is getting the interview may be harder, but what I can guarantee you is once you get that interview, no one cares where you went to school. No one cares who your mom or dad is. People just want to say, is this individual going to help make our company stronger? That's all they're going to care about. So my advice would be to do everything you possibly can do that when the interview comes, you're prepared and ready to knock it out of the park. Because a second one may not come, right? I mean, I'll be the first one to raise my hand. I had an interview at Bank of America when I was a sophomore at FDU, and it went really bad. I did terrible in the interview. I was nervous. The kids upstairs from me were blasting techno house music. I got nervous. It didn't go well, and I didn't get the internship. And in hindsight, they probably made the right pick because I gave a lousy interview. I got lucky that I had an opportunity to interview again the next year, and it helped turn into a job. But I wish I would have prepared better for the first one, right? So the main thing I want to say is it may be harder to get the interview, but it's certainly not impossible. The way you're going to do it is by networking with people at the companies, right? I mean, if you just apply online, there's probably not a very good chance you're going to get picked for the interview because, I mean, Bank of America, we have the one program that the student that I'm just talking about got into. He's doing great. I'm sure he's going to do amazing. But there was over 3,000 applicants for 30 super day interviews. 30 super day interviews for 4 applicants. So he was in the top 1% of the 1%, right? But what I can say with 100% certainty, and my boss here and everyone at the bank, no one cares where you went to school. Once you're interviewing and you're talking to someone, you could add your experiences and explain why you think you'd be a good cultural fit. It doesn't matter where you went to school, right? So it's tough because it's hard to get the interview. But if you do get that interview, you have just as good of a chance to everyone from any school in the world. So that's the advice I'd give there. It's certainly more difficult. I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't, but it is far from impossible. We have a lot of people at very good companies and big banks across the world. And you just have to reach out and try and network with people on the inside. That's the best advice I'll give you. And I think so. I'll stop with this question there, but the first thing that I would ask if I was interviewing someone and they said they wanted to work and I'm not putting you on the spot, Damien, because I don't even know if anyone else is on the line, if it's just you or I.
That's okay.
But the question I would ask is why investment banking, right? I mean, know that answer, right? So if you're meeting someone at a career site and you say you want to do investment banking, I'll be honest, I'll raise my hand. I wanted to do investment banking and I didn't even know what it was. I knew that it looked cool in the movies and I wanted to wear a fancy suit and go to do cool meetings. That's not a good answer to give to someone in an interview. If I ask someone that now and that's what they tell me, I'm going to rip up their resume. So know why you want to do it, right? I didn't. So that's probably why I didn't get picked for the interview. Probably right. But know why you want to do it, right? I mean, for me, that's the best advice I'd give is know why you want to do something. Someone that's in the industry for a few years can smell BS, right? I mean, if you don't have a good reason for it, just because, hey, I watched Wolf of Wall Street one time and it looked fun, so I want to be a trader, probably not going to get the job. But know the reason as to why and bring your translatable skills. And yeah, you're in college, you never have done a pitch book in real life, but you've done some real life examples at school that can help translate and have transferable skills to make a great banker. So talk about it. That's your story. Explain it, own it, and explain why you'd be a great fit.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Do you have time for more questions or?
Yeah. No, I have a hard stop at 5:30, but I'm good. We can go until then.
We have another question in the chat. I think his mic might just be broken, but It says, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing large financial institutions like Bank of America today?
Yeah, so I can only really talk to my line of business because I don't really know. I don't necessarily know all of the sales and trading and banking side. But a big thing that all the banks are dealing with is regulations and the regulatory and regulations. So making which, I mean, if there were stronger regulations in 07 and 08, we wouldn't have been in that spot that we did with the recession. So they're needed, but it's a matter of balancing out how can we serve our clients well as generating a profit for shareholders and growing the book. So if you look at any Bank of America's town hall, our CEO always talks about responsible growth. It's such a crucially important thing to talk about because we need to grow. We need to grow responsibly, right? So we're not going to take on sublime loans just to grow our balance sheet, right? We're going to take on the right type of debt. We're going to do the right things. And what everything boils down to, whether it's Bank of America, Goldman, Tesla, SpaceX, you name it, it's the people, right? I mean, the most important thing is getting the right people in the spot and trying to grow that way. Another big thing that we all deal with, that every company, is technology's ever evolving. So when I first joined, I knew Excel, what I thought was pretty well. Now just knowing Excel is probably not good enough to get a banking internship, right? So it's a matter of continuing to keep up with, you'll hear it, I can't open up the Wall Street Journal once without seeing AI a million times, right? So it's keeping up with the evolving trends from today. So you want to keep your skills sharp, your people sharp, and like our CEO always says, grow responsibly, right? I mean, it takes a very, very long time to build up a good reputation and a couple of days or a couple of seconds to ruin it, right? So it's doing the right thing when no one's watching all the time, things like that. And it's kind of funny because sometimes I say these things and it sounds cliche, but it's true, right? It's the same principles of when I was playing football at school, or when I was in the finance club. It's very applicable to here. Be someone that you want to work with. We're here more than we're at home, so that's very applicable to being a good individual at the bank.
Thank you for that. I also had another question.
Yeah, keep them coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so because you were just mentioning like the skills that you would need, so that actually brought me to my next question, which was like what, and I don't want to cater just towards me, so I'll just say let's just say a junior finance major as well. Like, everybody's telling you it's the most important year to get an internship, da 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 da. But I was just wondering because I haven't actually had a technical interview yet, but I'm assuming that's gonna come up at some point. Like, I'm gonna have one. I just want to know, like, what are like some things that you read? Like, I know the Wall Street Journal, we can get it for free at FDU, but like other than that, like, what are the things that you read to keep up with the? Yeah.
Really, yeah. So I read the journal every day. I look and I'll read the journal, but I think the big thing for that is you have to know what's going on in current events, right? So it's what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. How does that affect Bank of America on 42nd and 6th? It affects us a lot. Knowing that's important to me when I interview individuals is, do you know what's going on macro? How does it affect me? Super important. Knowing what's going on with the interest rates. I mean, you're in TD, so you're going to know, but the Fed just cut the Fed funds effective from 433 to 408. How does that affect me? It affects me greatly because now I have to go and tell my clients, hey, I have to pay you a lower rate now, and explain to my sales team why we have to do it. So it's really a matter of knowing what's going on in the current events and how it relates. You take this big macro element and how it relates here, right? So it's super important. I mean, it's my favorite class at FDU was microeconomics and macroeconomics, but elasticity and things like that, important, not super applicable to my day-to-day job here. But it was a lot of the finance 101 things, right? I mean, it's Ken Betts always says it maximize shareholder wealth. It's very, very true, right? So we want to cut expenses, not just us. Every company's looking to do it. So how can we cut expenses and grow revenue? That's the simplest way. But a couple of things I wanted to chat on that you said was, one, definitely read the Wall Street Journal, know what's going on. Two, I would expect any interviews you're going to be getting, there are going to be some finance technical questions. not super elaborate, but hey, understand what is a bond? How, yeah, like you're pretty much your finance 101 class, right? Like, what is a bond? Not necessarily how do you price it. If you know that, that's great. But what is a bond? How does a bond work? Is it explain the relationship between yields and prices, things like that. You're going to enter, you're going to have 30 minutes. So they're not going to ask you to pull out a model and do this elaborate model. There's not time for that. But understanding, hey, does this individual know basic finance principles? They're not going to expect you to come in and have your Series 7 and know all that stuff. But if you know some of the principles that's in the SIE exam, that's going to help you tremendously well. And then from what if I was you sitting junior year at FDU, what I would be doing is I would become best friends with the Bloomberg terminal. Right, there's a terminal on both campuses. I believe when I was at FDU was there. That's a tremendous asset you have. I think the Bloomberg terminal is like over $30,000 or $40,000 a year. So live in there, understand how Bloomberg works. When you get to the Bloomberg offers free courses, take them, put on your resume that you're Bloomberg sufficient. That's crucially important, right? Things like that. And then obviously no Excel, but if there's any kind of computer science classes around Python or modeling or anything like that, take those. For me personally, I preferred classes like that over the classes I didn't think would help me post-graduation as much. So although it would have been interesting to learn about anthropology, I cared more about entry-level accounting stuff, right? So it really just depends on what you want to do. But that's my big thing is I'd live in that Bloomberg terminal. I'd read the Wall Street Journal, talk to Professor Beth, talk to professors about, hey, what's going on, right? I mean, FDU, when I was there, had some of the best professors I could ever have imagined. We were super lucky. Professor Collier was my favorite accounting teacher. I think she's still at the school. And Ken Betts, my favorite finance professor. So take advantage of the faculty, pick their brain, right? I mean, FDU is a good school. You're very lucky to be there. Take advantage of the people that we have there. So that's some of the advice. I said a lot, so I'll stop if there's any kind of questions off of that. But that's kind of how I take that question.
This is just a thank you from Professor Collier.
Oh, she's right there. I'm looking at an empty boardroom, so I didn't even know you were in there. And I will admit that I wish I paid more attention to your class because the first 2 years I booked a lot of entries backwards and had to explain that. So listen to her when she talks.
No problem.
Yeah. Actually, I'll ask if anybody has any questions first before I ask another question. So does anybody else have any other questions? Going once, going twice.
I got a question.
I see someone on there. Hey,
Yeah.
Juan.
Hi. So last week we met with them, and their big thing was like work-life balance. So I'm kind of wondering, how that situation is there, because for their interviews, they were like, they want you to be yourself, So how does Bank of America go about that for interviewing candidates?
Yeah, so I think work-life balance, it depends on what stage you're on in your life. So I have the cutest 2-year-old daughter you could possibly imagine. So for me, work-life balance is a lot more important than it did when I was 23 years old, right? So, and I will be brutally honest, different parts of the bank are going to have different work-life balances, right? So if you go into corporate banking, you're going to work more than you will someone on the retail side. It's just a fact of it. So you kind of have to have an idea of what the position you're applying for, what that comes with, right? So if you go into audit's amazing. I would argue that audit's the best job you could possibly have to start your career. You could be a lifelong auditor. It's an amazing job, but your skills you'll learn in audit are better than any skill you can get your first 2 years out of school. But if there's anyone that's going into audit, your life around the tax deadlines is going to be tough. That's just the fact of it, right? So you have to be aware of things that are out of your control, right? So whether it's Witham or KPMG or Bank of America or any of these companies, you have your tax deadlines that the IRS sets. So there's going to be more work around those times. If you're a tax accountant, you're not going on spring break in April. It's just not happening, right? So you have to be aware of things that are outside of your firm's control. And a lot of it does matter with the company, right? So I left Bank of America once and I'll never leave again. I'm not just saying that because I'm on a recorded line that they have cameras here. It's an amazing company to work for. And a big part of it is because Bank of America is big about bringing your whole self to work. And that's crucially important to me. So I want everyone that works with and for me to bring their entire whole self to work. And I hope every company is like that, but I can't speak for it, right? So talk to people at different companies, see what the culture is. And that's why, to kind of get back to what I said before, is talk to different people at these companies, because you can see, hey, how's your work-life balance? How's the culture? For me, when my wife was pregnant, my boss, it was important to him that I went to all the doctor's appointments with her. That's amazing. Not every company is going to be like that, but it's in the area of life that I'm in. I found a company that I really, really value. They value me. And that's why I will no longer look outside. So it's really a matter of doing research on the company's culture. That's crucially important. And talk to some people within the company, right? I mean, you could probably tell within the first 3 seconds of talking to someone if they would want you to, if they like work for that company, you can tell right away. So that's the big thing I would say, is talk to people, get a gauge for how they feel about the company, the work-life balance. It's a crucially important question.
Can I jump in and ask a quick question just about your firm in general?
Please
Even
do.
though you're not on the trading side, are you still required to take 2 weeks off back to back?
No, really, really good question. So when I was in CFO, yes. So Bank of America, and actually, I think this is not just a bank policy. This is probably industry-wide. If you are,
So why don't you tell everyone about this? Because it's an interesting insight to the industry.
yeah. So what Professor Collier is talking about is called block leave. So at Bank of America and most of the big banks, we're required that if you touch a trade on the trading side, or you're on the finance side and you have you could look into the general ledger of the balance sheet, it's mandated that you take 10 consecutive work days off a year. And the reason for that is if you're doing something sketchy or illegal, when you're out, someone else is going to come in and see it. So a good real life example is if a trader is mismarking his book or intentionally lying to say what his asset, he says this phone is worth $1,000, but it's actually worth $5. He's going to take a lot more money in than he really is, and it's going to cause a problem. There's controls around the firm to try and stop that kind of stuff, but that's what that is. That's called block leave, and typically it's for people that are on the trading side, so actual traders, or anyone on the accounting and finance side that are touching the books and records.
But
so
the
that's
nice thing for students to know is this is a way many firms don't like you to take more than a week at a time. It's nice if you're legally required to take a block.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I always thought about when I worked in the industry. It was nice that I didn't have to complain and beg to get 2 weeks off. You're told you have to take 2 weeks off. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, in 2018, when I was forced to take it, my girlfriend at the time, wife now, we went to Portugal and Croatia for 2 weeks, right? I mean, it's, hey, I can't go to work. Let's go somewhere fun. She was a teacher, so she was out all summer. So there's that. And then Bank of America just rolled out a program called the sabbatical program, where if you're here 15, 20, or 25 years, you get 5 weeks off. You essentially get a 5-week off vacation extra for your 15 years of service. So this bank, I'm not just saying it because, like I said, I'm here. Culture is so important because you're at work more than you're at home. So if you're not happy, it's going to be a rough time. So it's not every day is super fun and exciting, but you want to go to a job that cares about you as an individual and allows you to work with really great people, which I'm super privileged and lucky that everyone I work with is amazing and values me, and I can help them out. So culture is crucially important.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I'll ask one more. Because for some reason I was just wondering, like when it comes to like AI, is that ever like used between you guys to make your work life easier, or is it just
So it's a really good and timely question. And as of today, I'm not aware of anyone. I don't use it. but I can guarantee you people around the bank are using it. So how it'll evolve over the next few years, I don't know, but it certainly is evolving, right? So it's I don't have a good answer as to what it'll be used for in a few years, but just right now you can go on ChatGPT, and I wanted to see the Mets record since the certain date, and within 1 second it popped up. And if anyone follows the Mets, they actually have not been very good for the last couple months, so it was pretty easy for ChatGPT to tell me that. But the technology is evolving tremendously fast. I currently haven't seen a day-to-day application that's making my life easier or more difficult, but I can promise you it's out there. And by the time you guys graduate, the world will be a little bit different than it is today, and forward going on. So I would be aware of it. I would, if you had an interview at a certain company coming up, that'd probably be one of my first questions I'd ask Google or ask ChatGPT. Hey, how is AI affecting Boeing? And come up, and then that's a good question to ask in an interview, right? If I had an interview in the finance department of Boeing, that's probably a question I'd ask, right? Is how is AI affecting Boeing as a whole? How is it affecting pilots? How is it affecting forecasting for profits and revenues and things like that? So it's out there. I apologize, I don't have a more applicable and concrete answer, but I can promise you it's out there. I mean, you look at anytime a town hall or CEO talks, he's mentioning AI. Anytime Jamie Dimon talks, he's mentioning AI. So it's out there, and it's changing. I would be aware it's out there, and if there's any applications that you could see that could potentially make your life easier at school, learn them, use it, and put that on your resume, right? I mean, it's very, very applicable to today. It's just, if we talk in 6 months, I may have a different answer, but as of right now, I don't really have a real world application to my current day-to-day role.
Yeah, I was like asking, because, well, like the stigma behind AI, like, oh, don't use AI, whatever, it's not good for the environment, or you're just using it to cheat or whatnot. But I always just like I just thought it maybe because, like you said, it's just growing every single day. And well, what we've seen the past couple of years, like it's just evolved like crazily. So over the next like 2 to 5 years, I imagine it'll be a part of almost everybody's lives. So I just always wondered if it was like essential to like try and learn rather than trying to just push it to the side, but instead try and utilize AI and try and know how it works inside and out. And because I read something that said that an AI model had passed the level 3 CFA exam in like under minutes. And I just thought that was insane because, I mean, number one, I thought that was insane because I always wondered, like, would it be able to replace entry level positions? But obviously, like you said, we don't know for sure. Only the future would be able to tell. But I just thought it was an interesting topic.
Well, there's certain parts of the day-to-day world that AI has already taken over. So if you think of, I don't know how to code. If anyone on the line does, that's great. I don't know how. I know how to break Excel models, but not really fix them. I think I saw Tesla, one of the tech companies, their coding is exclusively done by AI now. So the world is just, what I'll say is the world is ever evolving and changing. No one can predict where we'll be in a year or 6 months or anything, but just know it's out there and try and see where it could be, where it could be applicable to your day-to-day. I wish I had a better answer, but I would maybe talk more to, I don't have a great answer for it, but it's out there. I can promise you it's out there.
That's perfect. That was a good answer. It's okay. I understand. If anybody, does anybody else have any questions? I feel like, yeah, we've just been like rapid firing at each other.
Okay. And I'm on LinkedIn. I could promise I will make time for everyone. Like if anyone has a question for me, ask me on LinkedIn. Feel free to share my email with everyone in the group. I will always make time for anyone at school if there's any questions. What I would say is right now for all of the sophomores, I don't know the age group and everyone on the call, all of the sophomores right now really start looking at the interviews or at the internships for all the big banks, because we're interviewing right now for summer going into the senior year. So essentially, what's that, 20 months from now is when you'd start at the bank. So be on the lookout for that. And then just keep an eye on the timelines, right? Every application any of the banks or any company puts out will put in there a targeted graduation date. Pay attention to that, right? So if you fit into there, apply. But the biggest advice I could possibly give is if you're applying for an interview, if you're applying for an internship at a company, go on LinkedIn, type in FDU and Boeing, FDU and Tesla, and see if someone pops up. Send them a note. Hey, I'm applying for this internship. Either you could send a note to the hiring manager. I will always, if someone sends me an interview, hey, I applied for job 1, 2, 3, I could look internally who the hiring manager is and send a note. Hey, I spoke with Damien. I think he'd be a good fit. I think you should chat with him. It may go to somewhere, it may not go anywhere, but at least I can guarantee your resume gets seen by the hiring committee. Instead of if you just apply online, there could be 5,000 to 10,000 applicants for that position. There's no guarantee your resume is seen. AI, to be honest, is probably doing the resume screening based off of a few keywords, right? So I don't know how that process works, but you have the best chance of getting an interview is if someone on the inside could A, know the timeline, and B, know someone in the hiring committee and get your resume there. So that's the best number one advice I'd give.
Okay, that's perfect. I definitely learned a lot during this call. Thank you. And does anybody else have any questions? Go once, twice.
Always great to see an FDU alum doing well.
No, and I could say with a ton of certainty that I'd not be where I am without everyone at FDU. So that's including Professor Collier, Mary Sakin, Ken Betts, a few great people, but also some of the alumni that helped me with interviews and internships. So I will always find time for anyone in the university to help out. It could just be 5 minutes, or if there's ever an interview, question you have, or anything I can help with. It's tremendously important to me to help back because I'm not where I am today without people that were in my exact spot a few years back. And what I do tell is there's an expectation that when you're here and when Damien's an SVP at Bank of America in 10 or 12 years, that you help out the next generation of students. So that's the one mandate I help. Before I help anyone, I mandate that when you're where I am, you help out too, because it's how we continue to make FDU a great place, is by helping each generation out.
Thank you so much, Anthony. That was beautiful. What else can I really say? But
yeah, no, I'm on LinkedIn, guys. Add me, Damien. Please share my email with everyone. I'm always happy to chat. We could text if there's a few questions. We could text. I'm fine to do that. Or if I have 20 minutes or I'm going to grab lunch, I'm happy to take a phone call. But good luck, everyone. I wish you all the best. Enjoy it. College goes really, really fast, and before you know it, you're graduating and out of school. When I graduated in 9 years. So it goes real fast. So enjoy it while you're there. Have a lot of fun. It's important to get your interviews and internships and get good grades, but also take time to go and hang out with your buddies and go to Buffalo Wild Wings and have some wings and sodas, and if you're 21, a cold beer. That part's important too. So make sure you're also making good friends and doing things that you enjoy, whatever that may be. Going to see a Broadway show, going to see the Mets have an embarrassing second half late down, whatever you enjoy, make sure to save some time for that, because it's crucially important too.
thank you so much for everything. Thank you.
Take care, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Anthony.
Damien, would you stay on for a few minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So did you get my email about Venmo? Do you have that, or do you want me to send you a check, or what would you like?